Hey guys, you're back with Juzzie, and this is my TweakedGSX. It is a 2022 Suzuki GSX-S750. For the last couple of months, maybe even 3 months, I've been accumulating a whole bunch of parts to install for this bike. I love to mod things, and these are all the modifications that I've purchased to install on my bike. Now, I've also purchased, and I'm recording on a DJI Osmo Action 4 action camera. And about a week ago, I started recording some mods on this bike, and unfortunately, I went to go and put them onto the computer, just trying to get them onto my phone so I can put a little video together to show viewers of who like this bike some mods that can occur. Unfortunately, there was some sort of problem and I lost the footage. So I thought, right, I'm just not going to do it as a after work activity. I'm going to wait till the weekend. I'm going to lay all the parts out that I'm going to install on the bike, and then I'm just going to start modding over the weekend and getting the bike up to a standard that I love. I'm going to roll out a series of videos for this bike over the coming weeks, and it's just going to transform this standard Suzuki GSX-S750 into something a bit more special. So this is a pretty cool bike from factory, 750cc. It's been in production for about 6 or so years. The bike is now end of run as of the end of 2023. You can still buy some new examples from the Suzuki dealerships all across the world. In Australia, the last production run came in 2 colors. So it was a black and blue, and then there was a sort of a white and a black. This is a 2022 model, but it was purchased by the previous owner in around about 6 weeks ago. So somewhere around October, November of 2022. I bought this bike with all the papers, both keys, 100% standard, and it came from Sydney. And I got it transported to Brisbane, and whilst I was waiting for the bike to arrive, I bought all those parts as I mentioned before. And in the last couple of days, a number of parts have come through from WeBike Japan, which is an awesome company that I've never ever had a problem with, and I recommend that you check them out. Now, when you're looking at this video and all of my videos, I'd love for you to read the description comment box down below, because in the description comment box, it talks about the links to where I bought parts and some additional information if you're wanting to find out where you can buy it, etc, etc. So I don't put links on the screen. Please have a look down there, and in all of my other videos, you'll find the same info. So I registered the bike this week, and when I got the safety certificate for the bike, the complier, I guess you could say, that came along and did it, complied it as a 2-seater, just as it was from factory. The bike was 100% standard. So I went and registered it at Queensland Transport, and then I realized that it was as a 2-seater. So I read about the rules of transferring the rego to a single seat, and it basically involves me doing a self-assessment. So I didn't have to get the guy back out, I could do it myself. So the first mod that I did to the bike in the last week was that I removed the rear foot pegs. So the rear foot pegs, this is the right side just here. In order to do that, all I did was I used a flathead screwdriver to pry off this C-clip, and then once the C-clip came out, I pushed this rod out, and then the foot peg came out. Now, when you take off this foot peg, there is a tiny little bearing that sits between this grey plate and the foot peg, and I've just dropped it on the floor somewhere, so I will find it in a second. But that's the right side, and of course you have to leave the stand here to hold the exhaust, so that there's no issues with the exhaust flapping about. It has to stay there. And on the left side, because this the stand for the foot pegs doesn't actually hold anything, I simply just used a M8 Allen-headed driver to remove these bolts. Once I removed the bolts, I pulled the stand off, and I simply put these bolts back in. You can buy covers for these to make this look blacked out, so it looks a bit better and it gives you black hardware. But I don't know if I'm really keen on that. I'm just happy just to leave it as it is. So I thought I'll talk about the mods that I'm going to be installing. If you weren't already aware, this channel is about my Evo 10, and it was about a whole bunch of mods I did to a Honda Rebel 500. If you look back in my history, you'll get a feel for what I do. Now what I'm talking about is all the mods that I'm going to install on my Suzuki. So I guess I'll give a quick summary of that now. Now the one part that I have actually left on the bike, which I will just talk about, but I haven't actually, I won't actually do an install video, is handlebar risers. Now I'm 171 centimeters, and when I put, different sorts of shoes on it, if I put riding boots, etc., then I might be about 174, maybe 175. And my feet, my toes, are actually just risen from the ground. So I can't flat foot on the ground, and I basically have to have my heels raised. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but of course it's only of slight inconvenience when I'm stationary. When you're riding, it's 100% normal. So if you're a short rider, or just normal height, I don't consider myself to be short, but just a normal height, then in that case, then that's something you need to consider. Everybody's got a different inseam, different leg lengths. So the best thing you can do is just go to a dealership or go to a guy or girl that's selling the bike and just sit on it and test ride it and get a feel for it. See if you like it or not. If you do feel a bit short on it, there are some workarounds you can do to try and make the bike fit you better. You have to realize though that when you adjust the suspension, that it won't necessarily be right, and you have to spend some time fiddling around with the suspension to get it right for you. Even when you buy a bike standard from factory, the bike is not 100% for all sorts of riders. So for me, 171 centimeters, just under 80 kilograms, I'm a bit bigger than a typical Japanese guy, which is where this bike is made, but I'm certainly not over 6 foot, over 100 kilograms, and with long legs that can reach the floor. So Suzuki has to make a common ground for most riders. So you would think then that they would probably make the bike for someone that's around about 175 to 180 and probably about 80 to 90 kilograms as the average sized male, including Western countries versus Eastern countries. So it's never 100% perfect for everyone, and there are little improvements or changes that you can do to make the bike suit you better. Because I'm not in that category, a couple of things I looked at, as well as with my age, because I'm 45 years old, was I looked at putting some handlebar risers. So these are just some 1-inch risers, and they're setback risers. You can flip them around so that if you're a taller fellow, they lean forward, and then your longer arms aren't going to make you feel so crouched up. It was a super easy install to do, and yeah, basically it's going to help me just sort of sit even more up from the factory position, and I'll accompany that with some front fork rising mods, as well as a lowering link that I'll put in the rear. So the rear lowering link, I bought this from We Bike Japan. It comes from a company called Daytona. Daytona is an awesome brand. They make lots of good products for the aftermarket industry, Japanese bikes, and the thickness of this lowering link in comparison to ones that you see on eBay or any cheapy sites like that gives you confidence that this isn't going to snap on you and just literally have the bike fall off from underneath you. So that's the only mod that I've done to the bike so far. Changed it to single seat registration. The seat's still there. I had actually filmed a video installing a carbon seat cowl, but I've taken it off so I can show you guys again. It's a little bit frustrating, but it's what I want to do so that I've got a good record of all the mods that I've done. So just for the record, just turning the key on, starting this build, 438 kilometers. Everything's in pristine factory condition. The bike is still not running yet, so I will have to take it easy. This bike for me is a commuter and maybe a once a fortnight to once a month weekend rider for me, where I catch up with my friends, the PBJ group, at my work, and we go for a ride around the Brisbane area. Okay, so let's have a look at the summary of the mods then. So this was the box containing the factory clamps for the handlebars. So I've had some mirrors arrive from Fenrir, or Fenrir. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I'm just going to call it Fenrir. These are some mirrors that replace the factory ones. They come off a riser and they sit pretty cool at like that. A lot smaller than the OEM ones, and just not so massively Gumby looking like that. Pretty ugly. Really easy install because they share a common thread size, but that's what they are. Now I did have the option of installing some bar end mirrors on this bike, but I did hear some people having some issues with vibrations, and personally I feel that's because the bar is 1 1/8 inch, not 1 inch like a lot of people say online. It's 1 1/8 inch, so 28 mil, and then the bar tapers down to 22 mil. So I think a part of that is that you have to have a bar end weight on the end in order to stop the mirror from vibrating, but I'm just not going with that route. I want the handlebars to be as narrow as possible, and I don't want the mirrors hanging out past the end of the grips, because I want to try and be able to go through cars when I'm lane filtering, which is legal here in Brisbane, Australia, and I don't want to have any impediment or be knocking people's side mirrors, which in turn damages my bike and their mirrors. So I bought a clear screen protector for the cluster. So as you can see, GSX-S750. This came from WeBike Japan. All their packaging on their stuff is super good. Bought a carbon tank cover. So this is just where you put your petrol in. I like this one because it includes the centerpiece. I had this brand Speedra, otherwise known as SSK. There's the part number there. When I actually do the install for these parts, as I said, the information will be in the description box down below. Okay, so a dress up part. So I purchased this Motozar carbon seat cover, and I plan to remove this seat and put this carbon cover on. Underneath it comes with a little bracket holder, and they give you a bracket here to bolt in. It's not 100% sturdy, I would say, but I'm going to see how I go. And I did make a modification to it. I did actually film a whole video showing me applying ceramic coating to this, so it's a little bit glossier than normal, and I had masked the mesh off. So it originally came with grey mesh on the inside. I masked it all off. I painted it with free coats of a special black satin black paint that I've got, and it just looks to me just a bit better when it's all black. Another dress up part I purchased, and this was just a cheapie which came from AE. I'll have the link for that later, and that was simply just to replace this plastic surround for the headlight. So when I go to take the headlight apart and put this hydro dipped plastic carbon hydro dipped part in, I'll also be installing these Philips Crystal Vision H4 4300K LEDs. They do come with some LEDs for the sides, the lower sides of the headlight, and I thought I'd give them a go. I looked at plenty of reviews. You can get 6000K ones online, but I saw that the actual vision when you're riding is just nowhere near as good as the 43s. So that's what I went with. Now for convenience, we all like to have a navigation system. So if you're riding somewhere new, or if you're listening to your music, etc., then you can put a quad lock mount onto your handlebars. And as I said, I had a look at people's comments, and they tended to say that it was a 1-inch thickness bar in the middle. It is not. It is 28 mil, which is 1 1/8 inch. Unfortunately, I had this insert, I threw it out when I installed it on my Honda Rebel, and so I had to go back to Quadlock on their online store, spent 10 Australian dollars to buy the spacer, the professional spacer set, so that I could get the correct one to fit. So that's a 1-inch one, and the one I want is this thinner one, which is 1 1/8 inch. Now, on the Suzukis, they don't come with a plug in the headlight harness like the Honda Rebel, where you can buy the genuine accessory socket and just have it plugged in right from here. You can buy some adapters that plug in at the rear here so that you can then run a wire. But if you're going to do that, then you may as well just buy something like this, which is the Quadlock battery to 12 volt USB adapter. This is a smart adapter so that when the bike is not on, it cuts power automatically to your Quadlock charger. So this one just simply comes with the battery terminals connected to your battery, and then just wire it under the tank, and then I'll be mounting the Quadlock there, but this part will just be all underneath and it will be hidden away. Alright, so one of the ugliest things on this bike is the factory tail light, brake light and number plate assembly. And as you can see, it sticks out absolutely ridiculous. So, no brainer, that's going to be changed. I'm going to be removing that and installing a very, very common tail tidy. There's a few videos about this online. Some of them are wonky as, one of them was really good, but I'll be doing one as well. So this was just a simple cheap install, but to accompany that though, I did spend a decent amount to buy a very reputable company's parts. So this is the aftermarket LED indicator set, which is used, as you can see, I hope that's focusing, to fit our bike. What this does is it replaces the thick and ugly factory indicators on the front and the rear. It comes with the appropriate bullet plugs and cables so that it plugs straight into the factory harness. This means that you won't have to actually do any cutting and soldering. And most importantly, that does not come with the Yoshimura product, is that it comes with the appropriate indicator relay so that when you change your indicators, it doesn't hyper flash and make you look like an idiot. So that indicator relay just goes under there, and it will be enable me to slow down. So even though you're going from LED to LED, you still have to have the right indicator relay, otherwise it's going to hyper flash. I did see that you can buy some smoked lenses for the front and rear of this bike, and We Bike Japan does sell the originals of those that everybody's copied. However, I still think that the indicator just looks really thick, and I think it would look so much better with a slimline variant. So I've got some levers here. So this is from Speedra, also known previously as SSK. These are 3-piece adjustable levers. When you buy them, you can specify the mounting point, the switch and the extendable lever to any color you like. I decided to go with black and gray because I thought the factory one's black. I realized at the time that I was getting a gray one, but yeah, the gray and the blue is definitely my favorite color. In my last video, you would have heard me talking about how the 2018 black, blue, black combo, it was such a iconic color for this bike, but they never replicated it later. Only in its last run this last year did they kind of bring it back, but it just looks so gaudy with yellow stickers all over it. This handlebar is going to suit this one. Unfortunately, I bought this same set for my Honda Rebel. Perfect condition, really happy with these. Recommend these to anyone. Don't go and buy a cheap set off eBay. Buy a proper set like this that is designed for the bike and will give you no issues whatsoever. Now when I went to go and buy my bike, I wasn't quite sure what sort of condition the grips were going to be in. And I think that when you buy a second-hand bike, the thing that really is going to appeal to you, that you'd want to know is nice and fresh and it's not dirty as and broken and cut up, is the seat, the rear seat, which I'm getting rid of, and the grips. You want to check to make sure that there's no damage to the ends of the levers to give an indication that the bike's ever been dropped. This doesn't have any damage whatsoever. And I thought, okay, this is only going to cost me less than $20. So I'll buy a set of the Kojima aftermarket grips. This is a set that will fit this bike. You can buy them in a soft and a medium, and I think a hard setting, so that it's helps you with vibration in the handles, or if you are an absolute speed demon, you can have it hard so that there's no give in the grips whatsoever. I bought the soft variant, and I'll be looking forward to seeing how they compare to these. In actual fact, this bike, as you saw, it only has 437 kilometers. When I took ownership of it, I've literally just pushed it in and out of my driveway, garage, etc. And it's now got 438. So that's the grips there. All right, so these are axle sliders made by Babyface, another product, big company out of Japan. As you can see, it's got all Japanese writing on it. These simply just go in through here. Comes with the rod, very simple install, just so that you've got a bit of protection if your bike does slide. Yoshimura R stands, so these ones just go there so to help you, so that when you do want to service your bike, lube the chain, etc, etc, it's easy to mount up. Everybody knows those. All right, so now we're looking at one of the last mods I've got to talk about here. So these are some frame sliders. So I bought these as cheapies. Generally speaking, these are the same no matter where you go. They come with a large bolt, and it's used to protect your bike. If you do drop it, it gives you some ability to actually space out your bike from the floor. If it does drop, it's not going to damage the fairing area, hopefully, and potentially it's not going to hurt anything else on the bike. Very simple install. I think this was an M8, maybe M10, probably M8. Bolt, unbolt it, undo this, put it in half, bolt it back in, and it's nice and black. Comes with the GSX-S logo, so that you won't have any issues of it sort of looking out, sticking out and looking pretty gaudy. I just bought some decals just for dress up purposes, so not so sure if I'll install any or all of them, but they were less than 10 bucks, so they were pretty cheap. So I'm carrying over my tweaked number plate, so instead of TweakedRebel, this will be known as TweakedGSX. You can find me on Instagram as TweakedGSX and check out my Evo, my previous bike, etc. I'm not going to be using the factory reflector because I haven't got a way of mounting this reflector to the bottom of my number plate. So I went on eBay and I purchased this exact same one that I had for my last bike. Just bolts into the bottom of the number plate so that it's super easy and you can be seen easier at night time. Okay, and so now we've made it to the gold piece in the treasure box here. It is a Yoshimura exhaust. So the Yoshimura exhaust is an R11. It is a genuine Japanese product. It is not a American version, which is nowhere near the build quality of the Japanese ones. This one is the one of the carbon fiber end cap. You can buy them without carbon fiber. You can buy them with a black barrel or a stainless one, and it does come in a titanium finish, but I think that this one is a traditional no nonsense look, and I bought this one secondhand. I bought this for about 900 Australian dollars delivered. Brand new, they're about $1,400 to $1,500, which is a massive chunk of change for a bike that only costs $14,000 brand new. And it came with everything. It came with the removable silencer, the springs, and what else? Yeah, it came with the little rubber grommet that is used. to access the little Allen key so that you can get this silencer out. Not that I'll be using it, because the true beauty of this bike is the camshafts. Basically, I chose this bike because I wanted to hear the cams on this bike that don't come on the S1000 and certainly don't come on the 250, I think it is, that you can buy. Yeah, super nice product, and it is by far the best product on this bike. There are some really nice videos out there of exhausts, which I was envious, waiting for the right bike to pop up and waiting for parts to arrive. But this is the cream of the crop exhaust systems that you can get for this bike. It marks a complete change from the eBay or AliExpress cheapie that I bought for my last one. And I'm just so happy that it arrived in really good condition. I bought it from a very trusted eBay seller with 100% feedback rating and something like 400 odd reviews on his account. So I knew that it was going to turn up great. He had polished it. It was in really good nick. The only thing it didn't have was some ceramic coating on the carbon. And so just like this part and this part, I actually ceramic coated that one, and I'll show that in a video to be published on the channel soon. So this is all the parts that I've got to install. So, you know, I hope that you guys have some appreciation for the amount of video installs I'm about to do for this channel. This bike's been out for 6 years. You can find, if you look really well enough, you can find good uploaders that have done some of these products, but certainly not all. And this is going to be a resource where you can get all of these products installed all into one place. So hit that subscribe button now, and I hope that you enjoy the build with me. I'll be uploading a video very shortly after this one where I go ahead and start talking about the handlebar risers and the frame sliders install. And I'll also then be looking at installing the rear seat cowl so that I've got no issues with the single seat registration. So those three parts will be the first video install that I do. I hope you join me for this ride. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I'm living that thug life, baby. Steady smoking anymore, going crazy. Hey, baby, come and hug me when you fuck me. Turn the lights down, we in the dark, do you love me? Everybody's talking about the